everyone. It's your fairy godmother Mint, and I am interviewing right now Danielle from D's Enlightened Edits, and we're going to be talking tarot, energy reading. We're going to be talking orbs, magic in your atmosphere, just everything. So let's get started.
I'm so excited because right when we started, Danielle said that there were some orbs behind me, and I just want to know about that really quickly. I want to know what you saw. But first, introduce yourself. Let us know where we can find you, what you do, and who you are.
Great. So, hi everybody. I'm Danielle at D's Enlightened Edits, like Mint said. You can find me at D's Enlightened Edits on Instagram and YouTube, as well as on my website, damseldesigns.com. It's DAMCLdesigns.com. I am a lifelong spiritual and psychic medium, as well as energy healer. I do quantum energy healing. I work with Sekhem energy, which is an ancient Egyptian form that kind of predates Reiki. And I work with shamanic energy healing practices as well. And I also have a podcast and do all sorts of things with my gift, including energy art. And I love my fae and my nature spirits. So I'm so excited to talk about this all today.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So much more came out of your mouth than I even knew that you did. So
I know we've been around each
question.
other, but we've not had like direct conversations yet. So I'm really excited.
Oh, yes. First, tell me what orbs you saw in here and what they looked like.
Well, first was very interesting when we were playing with the audio and you were trying to get your mic to work. I actually saw an orb, a little white orb come out of your mouth and go towards your ear. So your spirit guides were definitely helping you with communication. And then I saw from that poster, I believe it's the Kiki's delivery service poster, right?
Yeah.
You're probably aware, but I feel a dark tree spirit that's coming from over there that likes that poster and likes that area of your room. And they were being a little mischievous and playing with the audio. Like we were talking about, it feels at the time we're recording this like it's a Mercury retrograde, even though it's not. It's a Saturn retrograde. So it made sense with the Saturn retrograde to me that it was a little bit of a darker kind of trickster energy. Not evil, but you know, some of them are just a little more mischievous than others.
Playful.
Tree spirit and kind of stick energy, like a stick man almost, but a little bit elven as well.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
Right above that poster, I have my tree man statue, which you can't really see him there.
No.
He's got a doll sitting on top of him, but there is a tree man directly above that poster. And he is like one of my guardians. He is like a very interesting sort of aloof kind of guy, and he's like a really dark, almost like a wet looking tree. Like he always looks like he's wet, like it just rained on him. So he's got dark bark and, you know, really aloof but like funny energy. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that he was so close. And I love the idea of the orb coming from one space and going to the other, kind of like unblocking, being like, hey, come on.
Yeah. And you had headphones on at the time too, so that was really fun.
Yeah, that is super interesting.
They were like, we don't need the headphones. We're going to do it for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. Ooh. So tell me a little bit about what a typical session with you looks like as far as mediumship. Like, what do you do for someone who's like needing to come to you as a medium?
Yeah, so I have several different types of sessions that I offer on my website, including Akashic Records and things like that. But the one that I do mediumship in, I call the quantum session, because I love to work with people actually beyond just traditional mediumship. I love to tap into their field and help them understand their energy. I've never been that type of psychic reader that wants to predict something for someone. I like to help people understand where their energy comes from the past, what's gotten them to this point, and where they're currently possibly projecting, but know that they have the power to manipulate that if they want to. And so with a mediumship session, as part of that quantum session, I love to have people's loved ones and spirits come through with their spirit guides and with their higher self, so that it's not just like a game of telephone in terms of like talking and saying, hey, I saw you, it was me who turned on the lights. It's also a healing experience, and a healing experience for both spirit on the other side and the client that's coming to me.
Right. Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. I've never actually spoken to a medium before in any kind of capacity aside from like when I worked with them.
Yeah.
I had never had any kind of sessions done or anything like that because it was just like we were always working, so we didn't even think about it. But it's very interesting to think about what it looks like or what it feels like for someone's loved ones to come in along with their guides. Like, how does that relationship, like, how do they come in at the same time? Like, what does that look like?
Well, every spirit comes through in a unique way for me. They kind of determine based on where they are energetically, because the way I work with spirit on the other side, there's kind of different levels. We like to think there's just generally one level and one heaven,
Mhm.
but that's not been my experience.
Right,
So
yeah.
we still grow in, right. So we still grow on the other side. And so some spirit, based on their life experience and their beliefs and how they're adjusting, have different energy levels than others. So they can choose whether they want to present with an image that was similar to how they appeared in life, or whether they want to present to me as just light and give me signs and symbols. Some of them use audible. Some of them come through with a smell that's meaningful to the client. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I love the term medium, even though I do many other things, because I do act as that medium translator. And
Hmm.
it's just about translating the language from spirit to the client. And so the client actually brings forward their higher self and their spirit guides. And what it looks like really is that loved ones and spirits come through on their level. And then I am opening a door to the energy field of the client, which brings their loved ones as well. But their higher self and their spirit guides generally come through, usually higher than most of
Mm.
the spirit loved ones then come through, because they kind of have to operate at a higher frequency to be able to guide the person through
Right.
life. So then they can help facilitate translation, and then they can also help me understand how the relationship with that loved one in spirit fit, so that I can deliver the message in a way that will be really helpful and positively receptive for the client.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
makes so much sense when you say that because it's true. Like your higher self and your guides have to be closer to you. So they have to be on a completely different frequency as everyone else because they have to be able to communicate in a way that you will understand,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. I've never thought of myself as a medium, but as I'm talking to you, I'm like, well, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. It's very similar, but I don't know
Yeah.
why I have that disconnect. I never ever said, "Oh, I'm a medium," because that doesn't. I don't feel like that makes as much sense to me. But because of the way you're describing it, it does sound very similar, which is it's like blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like,
medium channeling, it's all the same thing to me. It's just really about how you, with your gift, feel comfortable of tuning into the different frequencies, because Fey energy is a different frequency than angelic
yeah.
energy, than deity energy, than loved one and spirit energy. It's just slightly different. It's like, if you have the radio on, you have the capacity to receive whatever. It's just
Yeah.
about what you're used to tuning into.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So how do you adjust your tuner, so to speak? Like, how do you decipher which energy is coming from where, and what do you do to prepare yourself for that sort of connection?
Yeah, so I love to create a safe space. Even if a client calls me with an emergency, I will ask them for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds or something like that to just create a circle, make sure that it's pure energy, set the intention that only light and true energy is coming through the space, because there can be tricksters, as you know, and nobody needs that in a reading.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I love to set that intention, and it's a cleansed and protected space. And it also helps me not to absorb so much energy from the client or from the spirit that comes through for the client. And then I do a quick chakra cleanse. I usually use selenite sometimes and just go up my chakras and raise my energy. I invite more of my higher self in, and then I open that door energetically to the client. If I'm doing like group readings, then I will open a door generally to all the energies that need to come through for that group setting, even if it's online. I do that with online live readings as well.
Oh, that's a lot for you, I
Yeah.
feel like. That's
Well,
so much
I do it
flow.
really fast now, but it felt important to me because before I had a practice and a technique of doing that, I would get so drained
Yeah.
after readings. I mean, it still does drain you and take energy, but I don't absorb it as an empath. I don't absorb it into my autoimmunes and all my other things that I have going on. So it helps me clear out my stuff and not absorb their stuff.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Because I feel like for me, I'm like that. I'm imagining you, this conduit and all of these different streams like flowing through you. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you like hold it all at the same time? Do you ever
Yeah.
get overwhelmed with readings, or do you ever feel the emotion coming through from so many different places that you start to like react to it?
Yeah, I do. And actually, spirit generally shows up even before I do my process and start the reading. Like they'll know that a reading is scheduled sometimes even before I do, or even before I know I'm going live or something. They'll show
Mm-hmm.
up, and then when I'm actually reading, I'll be like, oh, that's who it was. You know, it makes sense. But I
Right.
have better boundaries and they don't attach like they used to. So
Right.
that's to me why grounding and cleansing and circle setting has become important. And then also because I use a circle, I can release that when I'm
Mm-hmm.
done and send
Yeah.
energy back to sender and not have it on me or in my space anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's really great. I feel like that's something that people forget to do a lot because it's, when you first learn how to receive that kind of communication, you learn it. But then when you do it for so long, you just stop creating your circle or you stop putting up your protection. You just like get into the flow with it. And then you forget that there's so much now swimming around your space and swimming around your aura. And you're like wondering why you keep forgetting things and dropping things. And because
Yeah.
there's so much energy just like smashing in on you still. Releasing it is so important. I think that's such a huge, a great reminder for people
Yeah.
to do that. I'm gonna take some sips.
Cheers you. This I actually
Um,
made. I was feeling the Bast energy today.
oh, I love that. You made that?
Yeah, I have like print on demand stuff on my site too, that as an extra thing that I do.
Oh, I love
And so
that.
I was feeling like lots of Bast energy, and then I saw in your stories you had your beautiful black kitty. So I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I just placed my Bass statue yesterday. I placed it in one of the other offices. So
you
that's like,
did? Yeah. She was
yeah,
talking to me. She was like, I'm gonna hang out with you a bit.
yeah, yeah. She's here all the time. I'm such a cat person. We have 6 cats, and she's just like always walking around. She like lounges in here and looks around and like makes things known when I need them to be known. It's very
Yeah.
interesting energy to have around for sure.
Yeah, I have
Um,
a lot of resonance with Egypt, and I have a lot of connection with like Sekhmet and Isis or Osset. You know, I bounce back and forth between their Greek and Kemetic names, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was just about to ask
someone
you
came
about
in.
that. Yeah, someone's opening a door. They're trying to open the door, but they can't make it in. It's Katra. She likes to be in here with me. Did you want to come in, girl? No? Okay. Oh, Kaiju does. So Kaiju
We
wants to
were
walk
making
around.
conversation about cats. I had to join.
Yeah, and then Kaiju comes in with her adorable little doggy self. She's so cute. So tell me about your relationship with the Egyptian deities and like how do they assist you and help you with your work?
Yeah, I mean, I work with several pantheons. I've studied many throughout the world. I believe that's really a part of me being able to read so many different types of people. And I have a lot of past life connections and memories always, you know, from when
Yeah.
I was a little girl. And that's been really important. My connection with Egypt has been really important. So, like, I have my lioness ring and I have my connection with Sekhmet, I believe, because Danielle, like Daniel and the Lions. I have
Yeah.
my middle name for Alexandria, actually. And so I gave my mom an announcement dream, you know,
Wow.
those connections. Yeah, so that I knew the name, you know, and I had resonance in that name. And I have a lot of connection with Isis, kind of morphed with Mother Mary. I believe them to be the
Mm-hmm.
same energy, just in different time periods.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Sekhmet and her lioness healing self, I actually always bounced back and forth with the idea of studying Reiki, but something always stopped me. And then I figured out a few years ago, oh, that's because I needed to go through my Sikhem energy healing initiation, and
Mm-hmm.
Reiki comes from a different source, so it would have confused that. So I
Right.
went through a sporadic, you know, healing activation that first started with in person with my hands, and then, you know, really morphed into me being able to do it more distance. And they've helped with my connection with the Akashic record, and I'm really close with many of them, with Ra and a lot of the deities.
Oh my gosh. I could talk about this forever because that's like something that, oh my goodness. So, my first name is actually, I was named for Ra. My name is Ra Shanda is my first
Amazing.
name. Yeah, which is really interesting. My parents were always really interested in learning about Egyptian deities and spirituality in life. So it was something really, really interesting about my childhood. And I started working with Sekhmet about six years ago
Mhm.
because she just kept showing up. She just
Yeah.
kept showing up in such an organic way. There's a big truck going by. In such an organic way. And she would show up in my dreams. And at first I was scared because a lion in my dreams is very
Yeah.
scary. I was like on a swing swinging back and forth, like in the forest, and all my guides were around me, and there's hundreds of them, birds and bugs and like animals and people and like fae. We're just all chilling, and they're pushing me on the swing, and then this giant lion comes up and just like roars in my face, and I wake up, and I was like, but I wasn't
Yeah.
scared. It was just like a new energy. And then yeah, Sekhmet's humor. That was
Yeah.
something that I definitely didn't know about her. And that was like where we connected, which was so different from every other connection that I heard from anyone else who worked with Sekhmet. But I think that that was very particular to me because I'm such a silly being. And I was like, I had no idea that any of the Egyptian deities were also silly beings as well, especially
Yeah.
not a lion, like a silly lion. I'm
You
thinking,
know who
what?
else? Thoth, or Tahuti, I like to call him. Very,
Yeah,
very humorous and loves to be a
yeah.
positive trickster.
Yeah, which I absolutely love. I love that because it gives you it brings levity into every situation. It allows you to feel like yourself and not have to put on a specific facade to work with a specific energy, which I think is great
Yeah.
because it's so organic that way. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, Man, you said so many things that I wanted to ask questions about, like a million, million, billion things.
I know.
Um,
I'm on the spectrum too, so my on the spectrum brain just goes pew pew pew
Yeah, it's
and
just like
connects.
going, yeah, what was it? You said something about this and you said something about that. And I was like, oh, tell me about your relationship with the Fae. I would love to hear about your relationship with the Fae because even though it's my biggest like lifestyle,
Yeah.
aspect, I don't talk to many other people about their experience. I would love to hear more about yours.
Yeah, so for me, I have gone through a lot of illnesses and injuries and things. And a few years ago, I started really also unpacking my trauma. And in my trauma healing, I really got to the root of why it's been so difficult for me to ground and enjoy being grounded, in this life. And I needed the nature spirits. I needed the fae. Like that was the missing piece for me. That was the piece for me to begin to really enjoy earth life for me and not just what I could do for others. And
Yeah.
so they really started speaking to me and calling me. And I had always, like when I was little, I had had interaction and I saw them similarly to how I saw angelic beings. But I wasn't an outside person for a lot of time.
Mhm.
And I was also bedridden for certain parts of my illnesses and wheelchair bound for certain parts of my illnesses. So I didn't have a lot of opportunity. I was a caretaker for loved ones as well. So I didn't get to have and develop as much of that relationship outside.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Mm.
then when I started doing my CPTSD healing for myself, I needed the nature and I started, discovering all of our parks and the trees really in particular really started helping and speaking with me so much. And sylphs, I also have a lot of
Mm.
connection with. I love the way the wind can speak to really anybody. I think anybody can have that experience where the wind moves in a certain way. And even if you're not a believer, you can just pick up on, is there something there? And,
Yeah.
I love that. And so I started, actually, that's how I found you because I started researching more. And you had the pink hair still when I first met.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started loving your videos. I was reading some of the books that you spoke about, and that's how I found you, and just developing my relationship with them and seeing that frequency wise, it really wasn't different for me in connecting and communicating with spirit or the angelics or the deities that I spoke to. It was just, different rules, a little bit of a different language. You choose your words carefully and, mind your P's and Q's a little bit differently than you do
Yeah.
with other beings. And I just needed it. Like I have a relationship with them every day. I, say hello to everybody, whether it's an outside day for me or not. And that really got me back in touch with being comfortable with magic, which my Egyptian self helped with as well. But I was kind of trained, if your gift is from God, you have to be kind of staunch, or you can't be a witch and you can't do those types of things. And so I went through my own deprogramming with everyone that was coming, to and through me, and really just embraced my abilities, and am still kind of in that transition to take out that element that says you can't really use it for you, or you can't use it for you successfully, because I'm such a caretaker and a giver naturally, and it's always been so much about connecting other people with that. So the Fae was really helpful in me enjoying it for me.
Yes, yeah, that makes so much sense. They are very much about self-indulgence, and allowing yourself to enjoy the things that you have. And we are so often guilted out of that, I feel like. But that aspect of being able to enjoy the things that you have and the gifts that you have, and allowing yourself to just use them in a way that brings you just a little bit of like excitement and a spark, and just reveling in that magic. It's so nice every once in a while just to do something for you and to feel it for yourself and just connect for yourself. It's nice, and it's feeding, like it feeds you.
Yeah, and it is. It's such a different type of energy, and that's a different type of grounding. So I always suggest to people, even if they're not a Fae person, get out in nature. Because if you're not good with a grounding routine, which sometimes I'm still not, eating, drinking, and being in nature are natural grounding things. And that can really, really help spiritual people, because we need to be grounded in order to bring anything into physical reality.
Yes, 100%, 100%. You have to be able to settle your mind and your energy every once in a while. You can't keep running on 1,000 all the time and then expect to be able to do things for yourself and like spiritually connect in the same way that you can for someone else. You have to replenish your energy. You have to let things come to a standstill. It's like when your computer is like being weird and it's like messing up. What do? You turn it off and you turn it back on. So you have to do that for yourself as well. You have to turn it off, chill, and then you can turn it back on. You can't just keep going all the time. This is one of those things that, again, like we forget to turn it off and just to like rest sometimes and let Mother Earth replenish our energies. It's really important, and it's so beneficial. My goodness. Well, I am just having so much fun talking to you. I could talk forever, but I know that we do have a time limit. So one more question from me.
Yeah.
Tell me about, so you were talking about being able to work in group sessions and doing it in person and doing it as well over the internet. So how does that differ for you? Like, how does it feel when you're doing work for someone over the internet as opposed to when you're doing it in person?
I thought it would be a big transition, but it's so much easier for me to do it online, actually. I've worked with people now on 6 continents. And it's just, it feels like such a blessing to be able to have so much connection with different areas of the world. It's the same kind of process of opening up a door to their energy. It just actually is easier because they're comfortable in their environment already, and I'm comfortable, in mine. And so I get to just focus on that spiritual space rather than play such a part in being in person. So I do most all of my work online with people, and I do it through through video. I do it through phone as well. For energy healing, I prefer video, so sometimes the visual is more helpful, but I've done energy healing with audio only as well. And it's really because I work through that quantum space. It's an energy space, and it doesn't require me to be in the same physical location, in my experience, but everyone's
Yeah, and I agree with that too. It is very different because you don't have to, like, the physical is a completely different realm, you know, and we're used to it. So we can see it and we understand it, we know how it works. But when you're working in different energetic spaces, you have to forget that all of this exists and just
Yeah.
be in that space because it's completely open all the time, no matter what barriers or physical barriers that we have. It's completely open all the time. And I think that's a really nice thing to remind people as well. What would you suggest to any beginners who are just now coming into contact with their special gifts? What kind of tips do you have for them?
Well, I really like to have people work with a patron and see kind of what energy is coming in to guide them. We all have guide teams, and in my experience, a lot of spiritual people will resonate with certain patron deities, whether that's
Mhm.
from the religious, practice that they grew up with, or a totally different one that speaks to and has already been a part of their soul in another way.
Mm.
I find that that can be really helpful. And I work with different ones, for different aspects of my gift and different needs. So studying them, I have also found can be helpful to understanding ourselves. Because when you find out who your patrons are, a lot of your story I have found will mirror parts of theirs and parts of their mythology for a very particular reason. So, especially if you're new to kind of self awareness and self love, it's easier to externalize a little bit, learn about that patron deity and how they used their abilities. And then it's easier to download that ability for yourself and also practice and play with people that you know and trust, that you set the intention. A lot of people, because online, anybody can hop online now and just start reading. I personally find it a little messy.
Mhm.
When people are practicing in that way, I see it now as the new kind of apprenticeship, but I don't think everybody coming in for a reading to a live with people that are practicing that way understands that that person is new and that is a learning experience
Yeah.
still for that person. So I think there need to be differentiations. And I think that's also why for some people they can read live for free. And some
Mhm.
people it is their business and they use a higher tier of energy and they need that energy exchange
Mhm.
some, if not all of the time. Everybody's going to be in a different circumstance. So before someone plays online, I would advise them play with your friends and your family that you trust and, tap into the different things that your gift wants you to do. And they'll
Mhm.
be able to tell you the truth honestly and objectively. Yes, that's a hit for me, or I have a
Yeah,
sensation there. And even ask your friends' friends so that you don't know information about them.
exactly. Yeah, that's such great advice. Such good advice. People do, they find like they have a gift and they jump online and they're like, I want to read for everybody. I'm just gonna go live and like go wild, and they burn out like within like 3 seconds, like 5 minutes, and they're just like too much going on. It
Yeah.
is really important to practice and to study. Having a patron is amazing, amazing, really, really good advice. I definitely agree with that. It's so helpful to learn about how someone like who has had their gift for a very long time. It's so helpful to learn how they've developed it and what kinds of things that they do in order to protect themselves and to grow that gift as well. I love that. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and get a mentor or a coach. You
yeah,
can absolutely, there's so many of us that do mentorship and healing and coaching, and don't be afraid to do that. And also, if you want to jump online, boundaries, whether online or
yes,
in person, people forget spiritual boundaries are even more important than verbal and friendship and physical boundaries, in my opinion. And set an intention and tell people, this is not what I do professionally yet. I am experimenting. So if you would like to be part of the experiment, that is what this live is, or that is what this reading is.
yeah, yeah. That's really great. I love that. Well, it has been so wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for jumping on here and sharing your knowledge. I would love to have you on again, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just remind everybody where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can find me at These Enlightened Edits on Instagram and YouTube. And there's also links on there to my website, damseldesigns.com, for sessions. And there's a link on there as well for energy healing and for my podcast, which is called Chat and Channel Session, where we do stream of consciousness channeling about specific topics to help you out on your healing and spiritual journey.
Love it. Love that. Love all of the things that you're doing. You're doing so much for the community and so much for the world. And I appreciate that so,
I appreciate
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much. All of your videos, I can't tell you, they help me so much in my
Oh,
journey.
thank you.
So
Thank
I
you so
love you,
much.
and I am so excited to be here. And we got to do
Oh,
something
thank
again.
thank you so much. I'll definitely have you on again. It's so exciting to be able to talk about these things. I could literally talk for hours. I could ask you a billion questions, but
anyone in the comments, if you have any questions for Danielle for our next meeting, whenever we have another one, please just pop them in the comment section. I will also have links to everywhere that you can find Danielle on or in the description box underneath, so don't worry about that. You'll be able to find Danielle everywhere. And everyone, I will see you all in the next video.